Oh, welcome into the Russ Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. You figured that out because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. What a wild, wild day it has been. Has nothing to do with much of anything, but wow, an absolutely wild day, an incredibly busy work day today. Then again, if you know me and you know my job, there is an impending state launch in online sports betting, which means all hands on deck. And it has been quite the day. And we'll leave it at that. But it's been a good day. I mean, things are good. Things are very, very good. Not for Mr. Brad Lidge here, who appears to have turned. There we go. Now we're good. All right. Welcome in. A lot to get to. Obviously, a limited amount of time to get to all of it. We've got to talk about the Flyers. We have to talk about the Sixers. We have to talk about the Eagles. And we have to talk about something that's Phillies related. Now, I do want to air one really quick grievance. I know it doesn't really matter. And in the grand scheme of things, a lot of you are going to say, like, why do you care so much? I genuinely hate Major League Soccer's scheduling right now. I know that there's an international break. Man, it has like absolutely killed all of the momentum around the Philadelphia Union. We saw Andre Blake play for Jamaica, but like absolute crusher. The last time the Philadelphia Union, who won the Supporter Shield, most points in Major League Soccer in the entire sport, in the entire league, akin to like the President's Cup in the NHL. The last time they took the field, they won 3-0 against Chicago in Game 2 of a best-of-3 series in the first round of the MLS playoffs. They will not take the field again until Sunday, November 23rd. Yeah, for the math, incompetent there. That's 22 days between the second game of a best-of-3 series in the first round and the first game of the conference semifinals. 22 days. That's insane. What are we? I don't get it. I don't. And actually, if we wanted to go on an MLS rant, which we won't do right now, but we could, Major League Soccer announced that they're going to be realigning their schedule to now match the European leagues. So now instead of it being a league that runs through the summer and then wraps up in the fall now, they're going to be starting the season, I guess, in September, October. Then you take a winter break at some point, and then you come back out, and then it wraps up around May. So that means that Major League Soccer is going to be aligned with like the EPL, the Bundesliga, Liga 1, La Liga, and then also like it'll be happening around the same time as the NHL and the NBA and this thing called the NFL. Like this to me strategically is such a disaster. And like I understand the idea that like, we want to align our calendar because we think that we'll be able to get better transfers. We'll get better players to come play in Major League Soccer. It opens up a lot of possibilities. There are guys that maybe would have been open to playing in Major League Soccer, but they don't want to like lose having an off season by playing in MLS. This whole thing is an abject disaster waiting to happen. Unless MLS is going to fundamentally redo how payroll works in this league, it is going to be a mess. I don't actually know what the upside is supposed to be. Right, because like you have teams that circumvent whatever kind of nonsensical cap Major League Soccer has anyway. Like there's rumors about Neymar going to Inter Miami, where Suarez and Messi and any of his old pals at Barcelona want to play. Like they circumvent the rules. We know that like LAFC got to do a little shenanigans at one point, and one or two of the New York teams also kind of had some stuff that they were able to kind of rework. I don't understand the point. And honestly, I think if Major League Soccer were smart, they would have probably stuck with the current format, and they would have made a better effort to try to go head-to-head with Major League Baseball. I get it. If you're a baseball fan, you're probably not a soccer fan. If you're a soccer fan, probably not a baseball fan. Are you really looking for crossover? I think it's more of just giving people the idea of, like, there are other leagues, there are other games happening over the summer, and I've said it a million times, Subaru Park is a great place to go watch a game, not a bad seat in the house. And I said for years, if the Union had just invested more money at any point, but especially while the Phillies were down, they might have been able to take a little bit of market share or at least get some wandering eyes who are watching bad Phillies teams. Maybe those people come and enjoy the tailgating on the waterfront and all that. All that to the side. There's one other MLS note. I don't know how the hell I ended up starting with MLS today, but I did, and then we're going to get to the other teams. But one other MLS note is that apparently they are getting rid of the MLS season pass. So if you've been a soccer fan, or if you've been a Philadelphia Union fan or whatever, and you've hated having to pay for that package that sits on top of your subscription fee, the Apple TV Plus, they're getting rid of it starting next year, it looks like. So you'll no longer have to pay. I think it was $70, maybe it was $80 if you paid all at once for the year. They're getting rid of that. So if you're an Apple TV Plus subscriber, you're just going to get every MLS game, which, you know, you can make the argument, all right, it's still kind of a paywall, right? Because it's a streaming service you have to pay for. I will tell you that Apple TV has a lot of very good shows. The one that I've, personally vouched for here time and time again, Slow Horses, is absolutely worth the price of admission to go get Apple TV Plus. But they're now going to get rid of that extra package that sits on top. And if I remember correctly, when we talked about the F1 news, that F1 is moving from ESPN to Apple, I believe that it's going to be the same deal there as well, that you're going to see all F1 races without having to pay an additional fee beyond what you get with Apple TV Plus. So I know that, like, how the hell did I get started on that? It's not even on the rundown. I don't even know why or how I got off to the Union, but I did. And you know what? Philadelphia Union do deserve a little bit of love on this show. And by God, when they take the field on the 23rd, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, we will be sure to preview them on a Friday show. And maybe we'll talk about how their game went on the following Monday. But again, almost like 3 weeks between game 2 in the first round and game 1 of the conference semifinals is absolutely nonsensical. I'm incensed. I'm going to throw the comments on the screen. There have been comments coming through. We talk about the Eagles, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Phillies. Good God, we don't have a lot of time. We're going to try to get to all of it as much as we can. I was going to bring a guest or two on, and I decided, nay, it's just going to be me. I'll probably just talk really fast. We'll get to some comments. We'll have a lot of fun, and then we'll peace out for the weekend, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. I do appreciate everybody being here because you're all wonderful people. Okay. Let's fly, shall we? Let's fly. Chris Freed says, I have thoughts on the Suite of Philadelphia. I have not seen it yet. I have not. I've heard mixed things, but I have not seen it yet. Ford checks in about the Eagles, says Eagles have to get 27 to 30 points in this game. Don't forget, the Eagles are playing on Sunday Night Football, which is a big deal. Ford and I, our sons are playing in a soccer tournament on Sunday. Takes the entire day. Then I'm supposed to go to a Friendsgiving after a soccer tournament, and hopefully we'll go from there. We'll get home in enough time to watch Sunday Night Football. Eagles, Lions. Yeah, you're not going to be able to win that game 10-7. I'm pretty confident in that. Let's see. Where are we at? There's some arguing about that game. Amadeo asks, why are they having an international break during the playoffs? I have no idea. It's just how the soccer schedule lines up. I don't know. I forget what it's for. I don't remember if it's for CONCACAF. I don't remember. I know Andre Blake was playing, but I didn't pay attention to that game. Chris says, why soccer is not a major sport in the USA. I guess they think that this is going to work and that they're going to get better players to play in Major League Soccer, and it's going to work. I don't know why, though. I think it's crazy. 3 weeks, though. Absolutely insane. Let's see. Ford says, Apple TV's catalog isn't deep enough, though. Slow Horses, Ted Lasso, 1 or 2 others, but the depth of the catalog isn't there. I don't know. I got to tinker around in there. Plus, they have all the Charlie Brown stuff, right? So, like, our kids have been watching. They watched The Great Pumpkin, right? Charlie Brown and The Great Pumpkin. We'll watch the Christmas one. We watch the Thanksgiving one. Can I just really quickly? No. I shouldn't do this. I know I shouldn't do this because I'm going to get somebody upset. I don't know who that somebody is, and I don't think they'd be in the comments section anyway. But, like, can we just have a really quick conversation about something that drives me a little bit, just a wee bit crazy? There was, at some point, a Charlie Brown special that talked about the Mayflower and the Pilgrims. And it ain't on Apple TV. And I don't know why it's not there. And I don't know if it's because somebody decided that it's insensitive to a group of people or what. But can I just say that, like, as we're talking about Thanksgiving, it would be nice to have Charlie Brown. I think it was the Mayflower Voyage, or it was like This Is America, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure it was the Mayflower Voyage. But, like, I remember way back when there was a special, an episode about the Mayflower and about the Pilgrims coming to America, and it's not on Apple TV Plus, and I have to assume it's because somebody got offended. How do I know that this is a special? Because way back in the day, in my teaching days, I had a DVD. This is going to sound crazy. It was a German DVD, but it also had the Spanish language on there as well. So when we get close to Thanksgiving, we would watch Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin. We'd watch the Thanksgiving special. We'd also watch the Mayflower one, and then eventually we would watch the Christmas special. Oh my gosh, Russ, how could you do that? How could you show a secular holiday? Shut up. So we would do that, right? And then you create like a little watch along guide, and most kids have already seen all those specials, and so you're looking for cognates, and you're looking for other words and phrases that you can kind of pick out, and you have the captions on the screen, the whole thing. But I remember that on the one that had the Thanksgiving one, it would go Thanksgiving, and then there was the Mayflower special. And so I went to go show my kids the Mayflower special. Now, in fairness, it's been like 5 years or whatever since I was a teacher, so I don't remember where that DVD is. And I also don't have an international DVD player, and I certainly don't want to like fry my PS5 by using that DVD. But anyway, I went to go show them because I was like, oh, the Pilgrims. I mean, that is like a thing, right? Like we do remember that Pilgrims were people. We remember that the indigenous people of these United States of America, they were here as well. They sat down. Okay, all that. I go to show it to my kids. It's not there. And I'm like, are we just saying that the Pilgrims didn't exist now? Are we saying that the Pilgrims and the indigenous people, that nobody ever broke bread together? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? I don't know. But I was a little bit upset because I was like, you know what? I just want to show us one thing. Why can't I just, this one little video? And then I was like, all right, is this going to be like when Disney has the thing that says, when this movie was created, the world was a different place. These stereotypical depictions of blah, 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 about Italian Americans, blah, 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 blah. I don't need a disclaimer. Don't give me a disclaimer. There's a game, Mafia 2. It was like free to download on PS5. I downloaded it whenever it came out. Before you play it the first time, Mafia 2. They have a little thing that says, when this game came out in 2010 or whatever, the world was a different place, blah, 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 blah. And that there are stereotypical depictions or something of different groups. Now, I will say there are some things in that game that probably don't age very well. But there's like a whole implication here that like it misstereotypes Italian people because, I don't know, they associate Italian people with the mafia or something. The game is called Mafia 2. What are we doing? What are we offended because the guy called the sauce gravy? Like, what do we need? What do we need that little warning for? Okay, anyway, I'm done. I'm losing my mind. I feel myself slowly going nuts. I can't find the Charlie Brown Pilgrim special on Apple TV Plus, and it's driving me crazy. And I don't trust the YouTube. I don't trust the YouTube at all. The YouTube. I put the in front of it. I don't like its algorithm. I don't trust it. I certainly don't do the YouTube Kids thing. Can send your kids down a real bad rabbit hole. Regular YouTube TV or regular YouTube, not ideal. With guardrails, you're okay. Anyway, I also hate this, by the way. Amadeus saying, it's gravy. It's always gravy. No, I hate that. I hate calling sauce gravy. I think it's stupid. I want to know who the person is who came up with that. It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It is sauce. It is stupid to call it gravy. I get very frustrated, okay? As somebody who happens to have gone through the trouble of learning some of the language of my people, there's no explanation for why you would call sauce gravy. Not a single bit. Not one. Somebody come back to me with a linguistic argument for why it's gravy and not sauce, and we can have a conversation. It's like when I hear people say gabagool, some mutz. What the hell do they call mortadella? There's like a stupid word that people use for mortadella too. Prosciutto's prosciutto. Why? No, it's prosciutto. What are we doing? And whenever I hear somebody say, when somebody says raviolis and they're Italian, and they're like, oh no, it's my, this is my mom's raviolis. No, ravioli is already plural. The singular of ravioli is raviolo. Il raviolo. Plural. Li ravioli. Okay? So I on the end of a masculine noun is plural. O on the end of a masculine noun is singular. Stop calling them raviolis. Don't call them. I got nothing else. I'm very frustrated today. It's sauce. Cheese pinch, prayer hands. Cheese pinch, prayer hands. All right. It's not gravy. Amadeo is going to be banned from this chat. Banned, I tell you. All right, I'm done. Okay, let's get back to the Philadelphia sports. Let's go back to the Philadelphia sports. Connor, you're welcome. I gave you a little education today. Yeah. Rigatoni. Rigatoni would be il rigatono. Rigatono is one. Rigatoni is, when you have multiple rigatoni. By the way, fettuccine, right? We call it fettuccine, but it's really fettuccine, right? Because it ends in an E. It's feminine. Fettuccina would be one piece, and fettuccine would be multiple pieces. Okay, we've gone far enough. Okay. Greg Bondarenko, welcome in to the Italian lesson. Would we like to have a conversation about all of the definite articles in Italian? Il, la, li, and lei? No? Okay, cool. And there's also li, which is a whole sound that you don't usually make. And then you get it. We're not doing that. We're not doing that today. That could be another day. Okay. Peter Tumwell says, teach or preach. I imagine a class full of 8-year-olds freaking out on a Russ performance. Yeah. Yeah. Those high schoolers, man, they're crazy. Brian Knowlton says, Russ, since you don't like Snickers and cream soda, I'll send you some garlic bread. Love a good garlic bread. Love a good garlic bread. You know what I was watching today? I saw a clip going around Collegeville Bakery, who I love tremendously. I love Collegeville Bakery. They had their video out about the bangin' cutlet. It's a chicken cutlet, and it's got burrata, and it's got vodka sauce and honey. And that sandwich might be the greatest sandwich you'd ever try. Now, they're not paying me to say that. But if you're in the greater Collegeville area, you go in there, go find the guy who looks like he's in charge and say, hey, there's a guy that you've communicated with on Twitter before. His name is Russ Joy, and he sent me here to get the bangin' cutlet. He's got a show that I watch for some reason, and he told me to come here and get the bangin' cutlet. You just go tell him. He'll probably be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay. It's okay. All right. Off the food and back into the Philly sports. All right. Let's just take a little bit of a little breath here. Let's all take a good little breather here. Now, Amy says there was a really good PBS, I think, documentary on the Pilgrims I watched. Let me know where that was. For sure. Let me know. Okay. Connor says, I loved Italy. I'd go back if there weren't 10 other countries I wanted to see in Europe. Oh, I got to go. I ran an Italian exchange program years ago. We went to a little town in Tuscany. And on the way up to Tuscany, we landed in Rome. We went to Siena. We went to Florence. Florence was cool, but also kind of weird. But Siena's like such a chill place. I'd go back to Siena in a heartbeat. Rome, there's just so much to see. Florence is neat. I don't want to downplay Florence. Florence is cool. You should definitely go there. If you can get out to Tuscany, get out to a small town, fantastic stuff. Incredible. I had some of the best food I've ever had in my life in Tuscany. Okay, anyway, back to the Philly sports. So we're gonna Brian Knowlton, keeping the food going. All right, fine. So since you were talking about food and you brought it up the other night, is Tony's Lunch still open? I don't know. I brought this up on Snow the Goalie Radio, I think it was, or maybe it was on Press Row Show. I think it was Snow the Goalie Radio. We're talking about like weird combinations because Owen Tippett came up. We'll get there in a second. Owen Tippett came up on the line with Dvorak and Konechny, and I said it's like if you go into your fridge late at night and you're trying to put something together. And I think I said something along the lines of like, there's a burger, a bun, and like peanut butter or something. And I was like, individually, those components are good. You could put the burger and the bun together, but the peanut butter doesn't belong. Or you could put the bun and the peanut butter together, and that's fine, but the burger doesn't belong. You certainly wouldn't put the burger and the peanut butter together on their own. No, it was chicken. It was chicken because I made the case about pad thai. Chicken and peanut butter together can work in pad thai. Could it work on a sandwich? Okay. And I brought up the fact that there's a place up in Schuylkill County that has burgers with like this unbelievably hot, like burger spread, hoagie spread, pepper spread, whatever. And then they put fluff on it, like marshmallow fluff. It's called a fluff burger. And I haven't been there in years. And I don't know if the place is still open, but Tony's Lunch is the place that had it. And I remember going there a few times with a buddy of mine, really late at night. We drive up there and you get this burger with marshmallow fluff, this pepper spread. It shouldn't work. It should be unbelievably disgusting, and yet it was fantastic. It really was. Chris Freed says, you buy a leather one in Florence. I have a leather jacket in my closet over here. It doesn't fit. I'm pretty sure it never fit me in the first place, and I bought it anyway. I don't know why. I've done stupid things before. That was probably a pretty stupid mistake. Peter says, this reminds me I need a cutlet recipe. Yeah, maybe we'll do a cutlet tutorial here on the Russ Joy Show one day. That could be fun. Could be a lot of fun. Zachos here says, home early from work, playing some Fortnite, listening to the only Philadelphia variety sports show. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Philadelphia variety sports show. Yeah, we talk about sports. Sometimes we go way off the rails. This is how it goes. Peter says that I should do a show with my wife. She could coach up how to do the cutlet recipe. Yo, she's awesome. She is awesome. I've been trying to convince my wife for a while. She does have a TikTok. She does. Her TikTok has more followers than any of my accounts combined. It's pretty wild. She posts like some stuff about being a mom. She posts like other random thoughts. And sometimes she does like a cooking recipe or two. And I was like, you really should just like do like a long form video, have YouTube, and then cut it up into shorts and put those on TikTok and everything else. I haven't gotten there yet. I will eventually break through. It will eventually make sense. She's fantastic. Okay. Now I'm gonna back out. Okay, let's go back to the sports. Okay, because our time is a ticking. I meant to be a half-hour show. We got 10 minutes left. I think it's going to end up running a little bit longer than 10, but that's okay. We'll try to get to as much as we can. Now, I mentioned Owen Tippett before, and I don't want to get too stuck on this for too long, but I'm at the point now where like I need people to just kind of come around and see the light, because I've been saying for a long time, I don't understand the fascination that some people have with Owen Tippett. I fundamentally do not agree with this idea that there's some elite skill set that just needs to be tapped into. He's a 26-year-old player, and there are people who are talking about him as if he's 19 or 20. Rick Tocchet, when he talks about Owen Tippett and the mistakes, makes it sound like, well, there's this great talent that we just have to tap into. There's this, he's got to like stop overthinking the game, yada, yada, yada. No. I don't think Owen Tippett needs to like stop overthinking the game. I think Owen Tippett needs to like actually think the game. I think Owen Tippett actually needs to have a little bit, just a modicum of awareness of where he is on the ice at any given time. Because if you didn't watch the game on Wednesday, you'd understand that like there was a pretty unbelievably stupid thing that Owen Tippett did on Wednesday. Most notably, Tippett went offside in what would have been a game-winning goal late in the third period. And I don't have a nice way to put this. It is one of the most boneheaded plays I have seen in a very long time. It was such a genuinely stupid mistake that like I could not keep my composure on the Press Row Show postgame. I want you to just see this. So Travis Konechny enters the zone. He enters the zone with speed, and then eventually he rips a shot, and it looked like the Flyers were going to beat the Oilers. It was going to be a great win. Dan Vladar stood on his head the whole night. And then this shit happens. I'm going to take the comments down for a second. Here we go. So Owen Tippett. Owen Tippett's not skating into the zone with Travis Konechny. He's not. He's not skating into the zone with him. He is standing very close to the wall, right? Very close to the wall to Konechny's left. He is facing inward at the puck handler, at Konechny, watching this play happen. Perpendicular. Let's go back to school. Parallel, perpendicular. He is perpendicular to the play. Travis Konechny skating into the zone. Owen Tippett standing there. Oh, look at that. He's got some speed building up. I wonder what's going to happen. Well, I guess I could look down really quickly to make sure that I'm onside. I'm not moving anywhere. Maybe I'll look down. No, he didn't look down. What did he do? What did Owen Tippett do? He's standing in an offside position, as you can see on the screenshot. Standing in an offside position. He's not streaking down the ice.
Owen Tippett, he's so fast. That's his elite skill. That's something you can't teach. He's just a really fast player. That's really great. It's his elite skill, and it's fantastic, and nobody's like it.
The speed doesn't matter if you can't score from it. The speed doesn't matter if your line mates can't keep up with it. Your speed doesn't matter if you can't create plays with it. Owen Tippett isn't streaking down the ice to Konechny's left. This isn't like the previous Saturday or whatever when Sean Couturier and Matvei Michkov go to enter the zone, and there's an offside play. I think it was Michkov was stick handling. Couturier was coming into the zone, and Michkov like kind of froze for a second, and it threw it off, and then Couturier kind of gave the side eye to Michkov, and it started a whole weekend discourse about, does Sean Couturier hate Matvei Michkov? All that. This isn't Konechny streaking up the ice, and Owen Tippett is just faster, and so they are going in parallel, but because Owen Tippett is so much faster, he went way past. No, he's standing there watching it. Owen Tippett is a crossing guard waiting for the children to get to him on the sidewalk, and instead of safely getting them across, he just walks into traffic. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what goes through this guy's head. I don't know what makes somebody say,
this is a perfectly acceptable thing for Owen Tippett to...
He is offside. He's in an offside position, standing sideways watching the play. Look down. If only there were a big-ass blue line for you to look straight forward from one board to the other and not make this dumb mistake. If only that weren't a digitally altered blue line. Oh, wait, it's not? It's not like the first down line in the NFL? You mean it's painted there the whole time?
Oh, my gosh.
What a stupid mistake to make. And it is a player that, if you want to compare how every time Sam Erson's in a game, you're kind of buckling up and getting ready for that one goal that you say, yeah, he probably wants that one back. Well, Owen Tippett is the forward version of that, because at least once a game, there's a play that makes you go, what the hell was he thinking? This, my friends, is case in point. I don't know what this is. I don't know why this happens, how this happens. It cannot happen. It is inexcusable. And you can say,
Russ, that's hyperbole. It's one game in an 82-game season. Why does it matter?
because this took a goal off the board with like 20 seconds left, 23 seconds left, would have gotten you 2 points. Instead, you end up with 1. And right now, it might not make that big of a difference. But again, for a team that once again is trying to make the playoffs, whether you like that or not, they are trying to make the playoffs. The one thing you could not do is cost your team a point on a boneheaded play. It's one thing if you're trying to make a defensive play and you end up getting a penalty called on you, and then, in overtime or something, there's a power play going against you, and that's it. That sucks, but okay. If you're trying to prevent a goal, that's pretty much like a guaranteed thing, fine. This was a dumb play that wasn't caused because of defensive pressure. This was just a dumb play because of lack of awareness, and then it led to a goal that does ultimately get scored, getting taken off the board, and then you go to overtime, Vladar stands on his head again, and it doesn't matter because there's a kerfuffle at center ice, a 2-on-none. Vladar can't go and duplicate himself and fill up the entire net. And the Oilers skate away with 2 points, and the Flyers get 1. Okay, I'm done. It's very, very, very frustrating. It's frustrating because it's felt like so far in this season, I think, is that game number 16, I want to say, that the Flyers have played so far this year? There is a certain amount of grace that I'm willing to give a team up to a certain point. The Flyers have played 16 games. They're 8-5-3, which is great. They're over 500, according to Hockey 500. If you want to include those overtime losses as losses, then they are 8-8 on the season. They are flat 500. There are certain plays I can totally forgive. There are certain things that happen in the course of a game that I go, all right, like that kind of stinks, but whatever. That kind of play can't happen. It can't happen. And the problem is, it is becoming even more difficult to figure out where Owen Tippett fits on this team. I mean, it was one when he had his like little goal scoring spurt, right? Because he's a very streaky guy. By the way, I'm not saying he lacks talent. I'm not saying that he's like a crappy player. I'm not saying he belongs on like the third line of an AHL team. But I don't think he fits here. I don't know how he fits with Couturier. I don't really think that he would fit on a line if Zegras were the center because I don't know who the somewhat responsible defensive player on that line would end up being. Do you really want to put him with Noah Cates? Cates isn't exactly fast, so I don't think that maximizes Tippett's speed. And then you don't want him to be a fourth line guy. So I don't know who he fits with. You would say that on the surface, Zegras makes the most sense. But again, Zegras is having a hard enough time establishing himself as a center on this team. It very much seems like they really are viewing him more as a winger right now. It doesn't mean forever, but right now they kind of seem to view him more as a winger. In the instances where he plays on a line with Dvorak, they're doing this kind of like hybrid role, whatever. I don't think there's a fit. And we know that the Flyers were high on Alex Bump, and he didn't have a great camp, but there's a thought that at some point he might make a case to come up. We know that Porter Martone looks like a stud at Michigan State, and it really does feel like he will be here maybe by the end of the year, depending on how Michigan State finishes. And if the Flyers make the playoffs, I could see a non-zero chance where Porter Martone is playing in a few games to end this season. At the very least, you would expect Porter Martone to be a Philadelphia Flyer to start the 26-27 campaign. They have a lot of wings. They're going to have to move off of at least one of them at some point. And to me right now, it's pretty clear. I think Tippett's the guy. If a team were to call you about Travis Konechny, I think his stock is probably about as low as it's been, Konechny's. And I don't think Konechny's a bad player. I would like to see him score a few more goals. I'd like to see him be back at that somewhat reliable one or, first or second line wing who can get you 30, 35 goals. That's kind of what they signed him to, an $8+ million a year deal to be. If he can kind of get back on that, then you're fine. If he's chirping and he's getting under the skin of the opposition, I like Konechny. I've been kind of disappointed in the performance so far this year, and certainly the last 10 games of last year where we went goalless. But I'm fine with saying Konechny can be here. If there's a team that actively is dying to trade for him, I don't think you're going to get a lot of value for Konechny. I think that you're better off probably hanging on to him until he starts playing better. And at that point, the Flyers probably say to themselves, well, this is the guy that we signed. We're not going to move him. Fine, whatever. Spiritual leader, whatever. But Tippett to me is the guy that makes the most sense to move. I don't see them moving Bobby Brink. I don't see them moving Tyson Forster. It seems like if they're going to consider Zegras being a winger, especially with restricted free agency coming up, I just don't see where Owen Tippett fits. I don't get it. I don't understand. And that is all. Okay. Flyers are back in action soon. Let's go to the Sixers real quick. So we talked on Wednesday about the Sixers picking up a win over Boston. They're second in 3 games against the Celtics so far this season. I just have one really small point to, I guess, bring up here about the Sixers really quickly because they're playing in the NBA Cup tonight. They playing Detroit tonight, I think. Is it Detroit? I think it is. I think the Sixers are playing Detroit tonight. They're playing in the NBA Cup. Yeah, they're in Detroit tonight. Pistons are 10-2 on the season. The Sixers enter at 7-4. Embiid, I believe, is out again with right knee soreness. We talked about this on Wednesday. That is not the surgically repaired knee. That is the other knee. There are plenty of concerns around it. I don't really care that much about the NBA Cup. I don't. I know that there are people who probably think it's critically important. It certainly is a good thing for a team. It's nice to potentially put yourself in position to win some hardware. I still think, I fundamentally believe that if you win the NBA Cup, you should have a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. Maybe the number 4 spot in your conference. I know even if the record isn't as good, there should be some kind of a bonus to winning the NBA Cup other than just money. I would like to see a little bit of a bounce back from VJ Edgecombe, but I'm not putting unrealistic expectations on him. I want to see him get that stroke back from downtown. It seems like that's kind of fallen away the last 3 or 4 games. I'd like to see that bounce back. Here's the thing with Tyrese Maxey. Last time he played the Pistons, he went 10 for 26 from the field. He shot 4 of 12 from beyond the arc. Not great. 33 points, though. Tonight is going to be one of those games where you can get almost instant revenge. Yeah, you played the Celtics. You went Pistons, Celtics, back to Pistons. It would be good to go on the road and pick up a big win against a team that showed up here, and Cade Cunningham was essentially unstoppable down the stretch for the Pistons when they played the Sixers in Philly. Go get your first win in the NBA Cup so far this season and go pick that win up against a guy who caused problems. Now, it'll be interesting to see how they line up against from Cunningham. It'll be interesting to see, if I don't know if you saw this the other night. Cade Cunningham, I think, had 46 points on 45 field goal attempts. He had over 30 misses from the field. I want to see what the Sixers look like against Cade Cunningham. And if Embiid is definitely out, which it seems like he is, they know going into the game how they're going to have to play. We've seen a lot of wide open basketball with the Sixers. We've seen a propensity for giving up a lot of points to the opposition without Embiid in the lineup. It would be great to see what this backcourt can look like defensively against a team that has a great guard in Cade Cunningham. That's what I'm focusing on tonight. It would be great to see Tyrese Maxey take it up another level. I don't know what that other level looks like. I mean, he's averaging over 32 points so far this season. I think he's over 8 assists per game. He's had a great year so far. Edgecombe had a really hot start, kind of leveled off, kind of came back up, went back down a little bit. That's going to happen for a rookie. I'd love to see him find that confidence again and start to build back up once again. He doesn't have to be their second highest scorer. He doesn't need to be their third highest scorer for them to win games. But ideally, he'll be a little bit more consistent from beyond the arc. He put a lot of work into that this offseason. Remember, going into the draft, he didn't have much of a 3-point shot to show for. And since the season started, he's actually been pretty decent from downtown, last few games notwithstanding. So we'll see how this goes. All right. So there's the Sixers. Okay. And you have people like Chris Fried who say, good news is the Sixers are better without Embiid. I'm not sure that that's true, but I understand why people say that. I get it. I don't necessarily love it, but I get it. Now, one crazy thing that happened today, right? There was a baseball writer who had put out one of the dumbest things. There are times when you have to kind of question, is somebody doing something for attention? And this was undoubtedly for attention. No one can convince me otherwise. This is rage bait at its finest. So there's this guy, Derek Gould. Derek Gould is the lead baseball writer for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I need to see what Derek Gould put out on Twitter. Was this today? Yes, it was. No, it was yesterday. Sorry. It was last night. He put out his NL MVP ballot for the Baseball Writers of America. So this guy is allowed to vote on MVP, has a vote submitted to the BBWAA. 2025 MVP, National League MVP. Number 1, Shohei Ohtani. Number 2, Juan Soto. Number 3, Geraldo. Is that Perdomo? Okay. Number 4, Paul Skeens. So we went with the pitcher at number 4. Number 5, Kyle Schwarber. Number 6, Christopher Sanchez. Oh, another pitcher. And a guy who probably will finish number 2 in the Cy Young voting. 2 Paul Skeens. Okay, that's fair. Francisco Lindor, Corbin Carroll, Fernando Tatis Jr., and then Bryce Petrong. So here's my problem. Okay, real simple. Kyle Schwarber behind Juan Soto. Juan Soto had an empty stats season. Juan Soto's team had the highest payroll in baseball and didn't make the playoffs. How valuable was Juan Soto to his team? How valuable was he? Because I could tell you that Kyle Schwarber was easily the most valuable player on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, yeah, sure, the Phillies didn't advance far in the playoffs. And yes, Kyle Schwarber didn't have a great playoffs, except for, it was game 3 when he had multiple home runs and seemed to be the only guy at the top of the order who could hit. Schwarber easily should be number 2 on this ballot. I fully expect Shohei Ohtani is going to win MVP. I don't know how many people would push back on it. But to put Kyle Schwarber at number 5, that is rage bait. There is no way that this guy could possibly believe that Schwarber was only the 5th most impactful or 5th most valuable player. Now, I actually don't hate, and I've seen people kind of hating on this idea that Paul Skeens could be in the top 5 or even the top 4. I don't necessarily hate it. If this had gone like Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Schwarber, and then Paul Skeens at number 3 because of what a great season he had, fine. Could I make the case that like Christopher Sanchez, maybe, like this is where things get really tricky, right? Because you try not to be a homer about this, but like Christopher Sanchez was pitching in games that had significantly more pressure for a team that had legitimate playoff aspirations. Paul Skeens was pitching for a team that's largely irrelevant and does not have any pressure whatsoever. Could I make a case that Skeens should be the Cy Young winner, but on an MVP ballot, Christopher Sanchez is more valuable to his team? I could. I actually think that that's where the more interesting discussion is had. Christopher Sanchez was more important, more valuable to his team, the Philadelphia Phillies, making the playoffs than Paul Skeens was to his irrelevant Pirates team. I would also note that once Zach Wheeler went down, the ace of the staff, Sanchez stepped up his game to an entirely other level, which makes him even more valuable that he then took on that role of being the ace. So in a weird way, I could see saying Skeens belongs higher on the Cy Young list, but on the MVP ballot, I think you can actually make a case Christopher Sanchez was more valuable to his team. Just saying. Video guy Amadeo is absolutely going to clip that up because that'll piss off a bunch of Pirates fans, I guess. I don't know. But here's the other thing. Kyle Schwarber should not be number 5 on an MVP list. That's insane. If you wanted, like, if you sniffed enough glue and you really think Juan Soto should be number 2, then there's no reason that Schwarber shouldn't be number 3. I don't get it. I don't know what this guy's point was. And then there were some spats that he got into when people were kind of throwing this idea about, like, you know, it seems like people were really focused on the Skeens of it all. But somebody goes, Schwarber feels low, but I don't hate the Skeens or Sanchez thing that high. And the guy goes, I think you make a great point. It's one I wrestled with for sure. Couldn't do tied for 3rd or 4th, had to choose. Somebody else asked, why did you choose to play Schwarber 5th? I'm sure you are aware that this is extremely contrarian to your peers and public opinion. This guy, Derek Gould, says, it was indeed. I had him 4th or 5th and ultimately decided to put my top pitcher at number 4, given performance and how he stood out. It was just a call between all pitchers, all a pitcher does to influence his games. Just ahead of that, Schwarber can definitely argue the opposite. I think this was a contrarian take. I think that this was a legitimate attempt to just have a contrarian take. I think it's absolutely nuts. So I don't get it. I do not understand it whatsoever. That seems crazy. Okay. I'm not going to like crucify this guy for a bad take, but it is a bad take. You want to talk about bad takes? We're going to get to one to end the show today. Or maybe it is a good take. I don't know. We'll find out. So since Wednesday's show, A.J. Brown spoke to the media. Now, I think we kind of alluded to the fact that he went on to a stream, I think it was Tuesday night, and kind of said, like, if you have me in fantasy, trade me. And essentially said that, like, look, it hasn't been the season that I wanted it to be, whatever, right? There are some interesting things that have been going on. There are some interesting things that have been kind of going around. A.J. Brown went out since Wednesday's show and essentially, like, I wouldn't say blasted. Like, he didn't blast anybody. But, like, you definitely get the feeling that A.J. Brown just wants the team to win. That's all he cares about. He wants the team to win. And He said, look, winning is really important. Like I'm trying to find the exact quote that he said. Hey, I got it. So he talked about the root creation on, it was on Wednesday. I want to get to the AJ Brown of it all. And then a very interesting person who he's been compared to had some thoughts on him as well. And that's how we're actually going to end today's show. Well, let's go over to AJ Brown first. Just talking about the frustration that he's had this season. Obviously, he got asked about the stream and about his comments on that stream. Let's go out to AJ Brown for his thoughts ahead of the Lions.
The situation with the fact that you set the tech. It's not just solely about my situation. I mean, guys, like obviously I want to win too, you know. And I think if we're really focusing on winning and doing our job, like we can't just keep slapping the Band-Aid over the defense doing their job and getting us out of trouble.
That's a really fair point, because to this point in the season, the Eagles defense has won them a lot of games. And a 10-7 game, I said this on Wednesday, there's no excuse for the Eagles only scoring 10 points. And I don't think it's a personnel issue. We'll continue.
We're going to pick up our slack as an offense that we're so great, you know, and that's what I'm getting at. It's not about we're not winning or I don't care about winning. All I care about is snapping stats. No, it's been week after week sometimes. We're not contributing. We're not doing our job on offense. So you can't just.
So he was very clear there. It's not this idea that he doesn't care about winning, because he does. And it's not about him caring about his stats, because it's not that either. It's that they, week in and week out, are not contributing in the way that he thinks they should be contributing to these wins. And there is nothing wrong with what he said so far. I'm going to get to the comments here in a second, but he has said nothing wrong yet.
Keep slapping the Band-Aid over that, man. You expect to win late in the year. You think he's going to go to it at the end of the year. It's not going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to
Yeah, look at him dropping a little profanity there too. Don't feel bad, AJ. Don't feel bad. I know there's a lady right there. He's a good dude. Doesn't want to curse in front of a lady. I get it. But there's nothing wrong with what he's saying. He keeps saying, you can't just slap a Band-Aid on it and expect later in the season that you're just going to be able to win, because what happens later in the season? You play in the playoffs. You're against the best teams, trying to bear down with a very clear eye on the Lombardi Trophy in the not-too-distant future. You can't have 10-7 performances week in and week out and just kind of hope the defense continues to make big plays. He is right.
happen. You know, last year, what it was, thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. Yeah,
that is a quote. I'm gonna run this part back again. Him talking about last year and the trophy and winning a Super Bowl, but it doesn't matter right now. Let's go back there again real quick.
Sure what it was. Thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. Yeah,
thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. He's right.
We have to adapt, and we have to continue to get better and try to find new ways. So that's where the frustration comes in, because it's not about winning, you guys. Like, I want to win, yes, and help contribute as well. Do our thing on offense as well. I think that's fair.
So there is not a single thing that he said there that's incorrect. And I will go back to that off-season post that he had on Instagram about that feeling of what it was supposed to be a champion, and that it didn't have the same kind of feeling he expected it to. And that ultimately what gets him going is that ability to break the spirit of the guy lining up across from him. He wants to feel like he is dominating his matchup, because he knows in his heart of hearts, him dominating that matchup leads to points. Those points help the team win. I don't think that this guy's a selfish player. I really don't. I think that his heart is in the right place. I think it's very, very clear. And I said this on Wednesday. There are a lot of offensive coordinators in this league that would die for the chance to have this offense, to have these weapons. Something is wrong. Something schematically is wrong. And it makes absolutely no sense. I saw a stat going around that AJ Brown is averaging like 2.5. Was it 2.5 routes per game run, or 2.9 routes per game run over the middle? Like, doesn't AJ Brown physically look like a guy who should be able to run across the middle and make a big catch for a first down? Like, isn't that the kind of thing that we used to expect of a guy like, I don't know, what was that guy's name? The best wide receiver that any of us had seen in recent times play for the Philadelphia Eagles. What was his name? I feel like there were two letters that we would chant. T-O. Oh, yeah, Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens went over on Fox 29. Terrell Owens has been I think, oddly enough, T.O. has been a very positive guy talking about the Eagles and his post-football life. But T.O.'s the guy that people have compared A.J. Brown to. Is this a selfish player? And I've said, until A.J. Brown is doing sit-ups in his driveway, I'm not worried. he's being very forthright with the media. But I want to go over to something that T.O. had to say over on Good Morning Philadelphia. This is Terrell Owens talking about A.J. Brown after the most recent comments. And this is probably where we're going to wrap up for the day. But I want you to hear what Terrell Owens had to say about the Eagles' number 1 wideout.
Compare A.J. to you. Have you heard that?
Yes, and I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think when you look at AJ, I think he sets a high standard. The guy's, I don't know how much he's making, but like 30 million a year. If you look at statistically where he stands, if he was playing poorly and making that type of money, everybody be trying to get rid of him. But the guy wants to win.
Yeah.
And as an
That's important.
athlete, there's a way to win and a way sometimes how you lose, how you win and how you lose. And it's a rhythm thing. And if you're in an offense, especially with him being considered WR1, you want to be involved in the offense. I don't blame him. That's an offensive coordinator thing.
Now, this is where people might automatically tune T.O. out, because is this T.O. having sour grapes about some different OCs that he played under in his career? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything that he's said so far that's unfair. And of course, if you're the number 1 wideout on the team, you want to feel like you're helping to contribute to the win. All right, we'll keep going.
And I think obviously in a lot of, I think Jalen has to shoulder some of that responsibility too, because he's the quarterback. He's an extension of the head coach and the offensive coordinator. So how you play within the system and how productive you are as a number 1 receiver depends heavily on the offensive coordinator and how you're being used.
So there's a little bit, not shade at Jalen Hurts, and obviously like T.O. had his run-ins with quarterbacks in his career. So I don't think that anything he said there is really unfair either, but this really does feel like he's saying this kind of falls at the feet of the offensive coordinator. To some extent, it maybe falls on the quarterback a bit of not getting AJ involved. We'll keep going.
It seems like the Super Bowl trophy is not enough because he wants to be a big part of the win.
And why is that a bad thing?
Correct.
It's not at all.
Everybody would be talking negatively about AJ. It was like, oh, he got a Super Bowl ring and he wasn't playing up to those standards, Philly standards, the Eagles standards. Then it wouldn't be the same. They'd be trying to get rid of the guy. But
I think he's right about that too. If this were a scenario where AJ Brown weren't busting his ass, if we saw clip after clip after clip of him cutting his route short, of him sulking, of seeing him yelling at his quarterback or yelling at the coach, or in post-game scrums, he's out there complaining that like he's not getting enough targets, fans might run him out of town at that point. And I know that there's kind of like this undercurrent of sentiment that he's a malcontent. I really don't think that he is. I think that AJ Brown has done this about as respectfully as he possibly can. We'll keep going.
I truly understand where he's coming from. Yeah. You have to utilize the guy based on his skill set. And granted, Devontae Smith, he could easily be a WR1 on any team.
That's true.
I've said that a bunch of times this season. I think we all know it's true. As Saquon Barkley pointed out the other night, Devontae Smith won the Heisman. Oddly enough, people seem to forget that. You know how hard it is for a receiver to win the Heisman. He's an incredibly talented wideout.
Yeah. But again, like you saw it the first 4 games of the season. When you go through a flow of the game and you training camp, you see how you want to win and you want to duplicate what you did last year. There's going to come a time late in the season where they're going to need A.J. Brown. And then there's going to be a time where everybody knows he's going to get the ball and they're going to double team, and it's like you're forcing the issue.
So
I think, by the way, that is a very cogent point. But here's the big thing about what he said. You know that like late in the game, you're going to need A.J. Brown. And I want to kind of take you guys back, and I don't have each play and the down and distance and the time, committed to memory. There have been a few times this season where when the Eagles had the opportunity to ice a game, the guy that Jalen Hurts has thrown that ball to with the chance to get the first down, to pick it up, to run out the clock, is A.J. Brown. And if you go back to the game against the Packers, where they apparently ran a rogue play or whatever, despite the fact that people would make you think that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown hate each other and it's a terrible relationship, who's the guy that Jalen Hurts locked in on immediately and threw the ball to with a chance to ice the game against the Packers at Lambeau? It was A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith had a great game. Devontae Smith has had a great season, has made huge plays. But the receiver that Jalen Hurts is going to late in a game with a game on the line or the opportunity to ice it is A.J. Brown, which to me says there is a hell of a lot of confidence by the quarterback in his number 1 wideout.
You were always outspoken, of course. Do you understand and agree with then how he's choosing to express himself and with the tweets and on streaming and all that? What he's been saying?
He's not doing anything wrong.
No,
The
Yeah.
media is taking it and making it into a negative.
Mm.
He's using subliminal messages.
I know.
What is wrong with that? He's
Yeah.
not berating the quarterback. He's not going to the head coach. He's not doing any of that. He's getting his point across.
Mm-hmm.
And what he's saying is true.
Absolutely.
So now listen, would the Terrell Owens who played in Philadelphia and then went to the Cowboys, would that guy in that mindset of still being a player in his prime, would he have had those exact comments? Maybe not. But I want you to think about this. A guy who absolutely famously lambasted his quarterbacks and his head coaches and his offensive coordinators and took headlines and did sit-ups in the driveway. That guy, now in retirement, looks at what A.J. Brown is going through, looks at the way that A.J. Brown has approached the situation and says to himself, he's doing this the right way. There is nothing wrong with what he's doing. And then also says he's not blasting the quarterback or the head coach or he's not doing any of those things. And T.O. would know. Listen, if A.J. Brown were doing those things, I think that this mature retired Terrell Owens would say he should learn from my mistakes. But he's not even saying that because A.J. Brown's not making those mistakes. I get it. People want to get upset from a tweet, a subtweet, from an Instagram post. Oh, what does he mean by that? A.J. Brown the other day came out and told you exactly what you should have wanted to hear all along. Winning is important. He wants to feel like he is part of those wins, and he wants the offense to be a significant part of the wins the Eagles are racking up, because if they aren't, it's going to be significantly harder to win as the season dwindles down and as you start to ramp up to an attempt to win a second consecutive Lombardi Trophy. And that, my friends, is where we are going to end today's show. I want to thank everybody for joining me on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you like the podcast feed better, or you missed part of it, or you're going to be in the car and you want to download the podcast and listen to it wherever you're driving next, you certainly can. That's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. I will be back on Monday. We'll recap a Sunday night game. Eagles versus Lions should be a massive game. I would expect that the Eagles are going to score more than 10 points. I think the Eagles win on Sunday night. And I do expect a big game out of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. I really do. I think this is going to be a very, very big coming out party for this Eagles offense. I fully expect a lot of points from the Eagles offense, and I hope that the Eagles defense gets the job done like they have virtually every week so far this season. I look forward to watching that pass rush absolutely drive the opposition crazy. We'll be back on Monday. We'll recap it all. We'll talk about the Flyers and the Sixers, and if anything happens over in Phillies land. But again, a big thank you to everybody who joined me. Until Monday, this has been the Russ Joy Show, and I've been Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. Have a fantastic Friday, a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to all of you on Monday here on the Russ Joy Show.